mob, as I would call it, were all there, and Joel Croft and that crowd, so Mary Harrigan had this tent that she donated to the cause, and so as soon as we get there, the skies opened up, and we were baptized beyond holiness. And so Bob and I were going around helping to get the tents up, and it was a serious challenge because it was raining pretty hard. Very, very hard, as a matter of fact. And the Harrigan tent was a piece of junk. And so we were tying that up every which way we possibly could. And we were soaked. And then we had the privilege of Donna Snyder and Linda Croft doing all of our cooking for the weekend. And because Donna Snyder had the chuck wagon there with her, and which was equipped with a VCR and the makings for crepe Suzettes and everything from soup to nuts Donna Snyder had, and it was really terrific to have her along. However, Bob and I were soaked to the skin, and we had worked on this for a couple hours trying to get all the tents up, and so we went over to check out what was happening with Donna and Linda. And so we step into the camper, and Donna Snyder opens the refrigerator and pulls out 2 beers. And so Bob and I kind of look at each other, this is a youth retreat. So we were so soaked, we said, all right, we pop the beers, we sit down. There's a knock at the door, and it's Pastor Bergdahl. All of a sudden, the beer didn't taste so good, and Pastor Bergdahl says, "Mark Garner's tent just fell down." Well, so that was the end of the beer, and we went out and re-soaked ourselves. But the next morning it was glorious, and we had a wonderful time with the kids. And there's a million more stories about all that kind of stuff, but that was kind of an exposure. Because we really didn't know Pastor Bergdahl all that well at that time, and it was Bob and I were like, but we survived and had a great time. So welcome. It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
And Pastor Bergdahl and Donna and myself and the Gensners, we took 32 kids to Atlanta, Georgia, via bus. We rode a bus down and a bus back for the National Youth Gathering. And are you still singing Men in Tights? Because they had the video screens, and the kids just continuously played Robin Hood, Men in Tights, the entire way down and the entire way back. I think it might have been burned afterwards. But at any rate, so Pastor Bergdahl, we have some slides here. I'm going to give you the microphone.
Okay, I got one here, so either one. All right, I'll use it.
You're probably not on there.
Okay, does that work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Uh-oh, pictures of old, dear Lord. I was in my 20s back then. I'm retired now, so a little bit older here. Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. One of those is my house. The one on the left, the one on the right. Oh, that must have been a previous owner, because I don't have a table and canopy. But yeah, my neighbor. This is some pictures of downtown Quakertown, where I live right now. It's just south of Allentown and Bethlehem, and about a northwest suburb of Philadelphia. So, and there's the church I've been serving. That's our new sign we had put up some years ago. And St. Michael's, beautiful stone building. It is 150 years old. It was Memorial Day weekend when that church was dedicated. So you're only 100, you're a baby, and we're a baby down there. The nearest church, our mother church, is like 290 some years old. So you got a long way to go, folks. You're a baby. You feel young at 100, isn't that nice, And there's our beautiful sanctuary that we have. And there's a day of service. We love God's Work Our Hands Day. You do that too, I would trust. That was Christmas Eve with the kids. during COVID. And there's more God's work, our hands. We tried to get as many people. We had them from age 2 to 92 doing service together, all kinds of projects. In Sellersville, it's about 5 miles from Quakertown, and that's the Washington House in the middle of the bottom picture. That's, I don't know, I don't think Muhlenberg stayed there, but that's the place. The theater and the restaurants, and those are some just downtown sites. They've now made it into a hotel. That's the big business. Well, the new legal marijuana place is the big business in town now. Down the street from the church next to the firehouse. Just being honest here. Oh yes, Snoopy. You noticed my stole this morning. It was made for my 25th anniversary. And they put Snoopy on there for me. And my Snoopy collection was at the Sellersville Museum. Somebody backed out and they needed somebody in a hurry. And I said, well, I could bring my Snoopy stuff. I was joking. Before the dinner was over there, okay, can we talk to you? And we filled the museum and people came and, oh yeah, that's running. I used to run half marathons before I broke my foot. So that was 2011 in Baltimore. That's my brother. I'm a big World Cup fan, women's soccer, national team. He took me to Montreal and I yelled so loud I lost my voice for 10 days. I couldn't sing. I sounded like Kermit the Frog. And Rocky Steps. We're running the Rocky Steps, and my mother took the picture. So Jeff and I were running. We used to run track in high school together. So if you come to Philly at the Art Museum, those are the Rocky Steps, the real ones. And there's St. Michael's. In the foreground is the grave of Berkemeyer. Ferdinand Berkemeyer was the founder of several Lutheran churches in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Others claim Muhlenberg preached there, but yeah, so he is buried in our cemetery next to the church. Why did you accept our invitation to come celebrate with us? I like a party. First of all, you invited me, and I think anniversaries are really important. They're like talking to your grandmother, right? They remind you of your history and who you are and where you've been and what you've done, and help you to know that you've come through challenges in the past, and people of God have faced these challenges with faith. You know, when I think about starting a church, I mean, you get 12 people together and they have meetings and they gather their friends and neighbors, and years later, you know, you're in a nice, beautiful building, and this is even bigger than the one I remember, beautiful facilities here. And before you know it, you know, you've got hundreds of people here and you're doing ministry all over the world, and started with 12 people in somebody's living room usually, right? And met in the old schoolhouse. In Sellersville, there's the church helped start a retirement community. It's now called Lutheran Community at Telford, LCT. And we found in the old minutes, it's about 60 years old now, and we found in the old minutes that they started it with like $32.12. That might buy you dinner at a retirement community, or, you know, that wouldn't even buy you an hour in a memory care facility, right? That's what 12 churches came together with $32.12 60 years ago and said, we're gonna build a retirement community that's, you know, like 5-star and has all levels of care and hundreds of residents, and $32.12. You're not even going to buy the hammer to start building, right? $32.12 and a whole lot of faith. And now it's a beautiful community. It was built because the churches wanted to have adequate facilities for their seniors in their community, near their homes and in their communities, just like you started Advent House.
It's interesting. I was on council at the time that Advent was started, and I remember Lisa Rosenbauer and Dan Jurers came to the council. Yep, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Mass, everybody. I don't recognize.
Came to the council and asked for, I don't know, I'm going to say $70 for postage, and to get Advent, the idea of Advent House going. And look where Advent House is today. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
$32.12.
$32.12. So never underestimate those pennies that go in an offering plate. You know, God does something with them that we can't even dream what it's going to look like in the end. It's those seeds that are sown in a hundredfold, right? They grow and beyond us. But that's that spirit at work, right? When pew potatoes put arms and legs on their faith, right, and get going. Lisa sang at my installation, I remember. You and Sarah Vokes. They were the really good singers. We had really good singers in this church. You still do. I love your music program. And your dulcimer group you have. We didn't have that. And you got the bells now. And Kathy Elwood was so fun. Hi, Kathy, if you're watching, to work with here at Bethlehem. I saw her girls singing that national anthem in there.
Yes, all three of them were
yeah, they're like lawyers and doctors now. And I didn't marry Kelly. I blessed her marriage. The marriage was probably done in the courthouse, and I was out in California, and my mother's out there now, so I blessed the marriage of Kelly. So many, many years ago. But no, I really, you know, when you leave a parish, you leave a parish. And so I was like, the only people I've really kept in touch with is Brendan and Vera, because Brendan does my taxes. Still does. You know, the IRS won't give you a break, you know, so they've been wonderful hosts. We had a beautiful bike ride. I'm jealous of your trail system. We rode into Rochester yesterday on our bikes. We got it done before it rained a little bit, sort of. And then, of course, we went to Pittsford. You know where we went then, to the Pittsford, let me get it right, Pittsford Farm Dairy Farm, you know, the ice cream place. Had to go there after our bike ride. So I've been fully welcomed back to this area.
What was your favorite memory from, you know, what was a fond memory of GLC in your years?
Well, it had to be you and your bag skits, you know. I did them everywhere.
Yeah, good.
You know, you guys don't realize, this is one of your best youth leaders that we have, that I had all my years. You and Schmelk doing confirmation, and he said he's not doing confirmation, but he's working with the kids all the time. You are really blessed with leaders of youth in this church, and you seem to still be. So very, very important ministry. Well, I had, I think I saw some of them in the bulletin, so I was trying to think, well, it's certainly the one with the choir when the Super Bowl Sunday, I was preaching, and it was about the body of Christ and all the parts and many members and working together. And it was the Buffalo Bills and the Washington, well, then they were called the Redskins.
Yeah. The football team.
Yeah. The new pastor that was raised in the D.C. area. So I was the only one cheering for the Washington team. And the choir comes in down the aisle, and they had their maroon robes. I hope you have new robes by now. And they had the gold collar part on. And I could not resist in the sermon saying, well, I see the choir has chosen the proper colors today. And afterwards, I think it was Julie Klee came up to me and she said, you do not know the motivation you have given the choir to ask for new choir robes. And Washington won that year, so I had to be quietly smile and smirk. We didn't wear masks back then, so I could kind of... And so we did that. They said we should have gotten the junior choir. They had the blue ones, and they said we should have alternated. The smaller people could wear the blue ones and then the maroon ones and come in the Buffalo Bill colors. But so that was fun. The other choir, when the choir, I had a lot of fun with the choir. The Sunday I had my call sermon here. They sang For the Beauty of the Earth. And then I think the first Sunday I was here, they sang For the Beauty of the Earth. And I said, wow, you have a really great choir. Do they know more than one song? And it just happened to be that that was the song they sang again. So, but it was kind of fun to joke with you guys in the choir a lot. And I think it was the kids. You know, there were 300 children under 18, so I had a whole congregation. I was in charge of all the kids. What a dream job, right? You get all the kids. And there's two stories. One is it was there was a bowling trip, and Keith, remember Keith? Keith and Barb.
Yeah.
Keith and Barb. I don't know if I should use last names because we're online, but Keith and Barb and their little daughter Sarah. And Sarah had to come along with Dad to chaperone. And so I got up to bowl, and little Sarah came up, and she's watching, and I asked her, do you want to bowl with me? And so she did. So we went up to the line, and we put the bowling ball down, and I said, okay, now let's push it down the alley. It rolled ever so slowly all the way down the alley, and probably went in the gutter a few times, you know, and I thought, oh, that was fun. I thought, after about 10 minutes, she'll lose interest, right? No. Every time, the whole day that I got up to bowl, Sarah was right there. I did not have the heart to say, not this time, honey, you know. So she bowled with me the whole game. And when they went home, Keith told me later, he said, I went home and I said, Sarah, tell Mommy who your bowling partner was. And she saw it and she said, the God Lady. So I was the God Lady. I heard I was the puppet lady because I did Pelly, the puppet. I don't have a Pelly anymore. They did in Sellersville, but I've left that congregation. So I. Pelly's here? Yes. Oh, nobody told me that. You told me you didn't have Pelly. Oh, Pelly. Yes, we did he was the children's stewardship puppet. Oh, he's hiding. Scavenger hunt after church for Pelly. So yeah, he was teaching children stewardship. So we did that in Sunday school every day. And the other story was, I've seen them show up on I've watched some of your anniversary things. You've done a wonderful job celebrating. Yeah, that guy over there, you're all pointing, but you did a good job too, I heard. I got to catch up on your history. Trying to think, I think the kid was Emily. The dad was Jeff. They were my neighbors when I first moved here. Hi, Jeff, if you're watching. And it was Palm Sunday. And after church, let's say it was Emily. Emily, Sarah?
Oh, yeah,
Hanson.
Jeff DeVosick and...
No, it was Hanson.
Oh, Hanson.
Yeah.
Jeff Hanson, yes.
Yeah, their little one. I got their name. It's been over 30 years, so I have to think way back on every name. They're not little. I'm hearing Marcy's daughter is 6 feet tall, and she's 10 in my mind. Everybody's 10, you know, or less, 8. She went home after church, and she had a little rope around her waist like we wear, and she's playing church, right? Doing communion, going around the house, and waving a palm branch, and well, first of all, she didn't quite understand what we said, so she's marching around the house going, lasagna, lasagna, you know, on Palm Sunday. That made a few sermons for me. That was good. And they said, well, you know, what are you doing? And she looked up and says, I'm playing Pastor Bergdahl. And boy, did that make me think, oh my gosh, they think I'm the God Lady and they're imitating me. I better be careful about what I do, right, Jim? You know, I don't remember that beer story, so you just outed yourself. I don't remember going to that camp thing at all. Might be my memory's failing. You remember it well. Well, see, I guess I have forgiven you and forgiven your sin, remembered your sin no more, you know. That's good, that works. So, you know, that always reminded me that I guess I better kind of shape up and, you know, think about what children are seeing when they look. And we're all an example, not just the pastor, you know. They'll listen to what you say and how you act and how you are in the world.
Every word.
Yeah, every word. And so be careful what you say, right? Clean up your mouth, right?
Yeah.
But I think, as Pastor said, I was the first woman here. At this church, and I was trying to think. I followed Pastor Craig, who was here, and Pastor Garner. So when I came, Pastor Garner was here, and I remember thinking, you know, it was that was courageous. I'll say, live boldly, right? As John said, to have a woman, you know, back then. It sounds like the dark ages, but we didn't have internet. Phones were attached with cords, okay? We didn't have phones that took pictures. We didn't have a cell phone. Are you kidding? And no, we didn't have any of that. And I remember, people weren't so sure about having a woman. But I remember thinking, well, 2 men would be okay. A man with a woman, maybe. 2 women? Never. No. Could not conceive of that. Never have 2 women. And look where you are today, right? The Holy Spirit has guided you. You know, 2 God ladies, exactly, you know. But back then, that just wasn't. And I remember I was sent to this area because for your bishop, Bishop Perry, was kind to women, would put their names into congregations to be called. Not every bishop did. And they wanted to be sure I was in a conference that had other women as well. So you weren't the only one. So I'm very grateful for those relationships with colleagues because, you know, they made clergy shirts and they didn't make them for women. So, you know, they buttoned the wrong way. They had a pocket here, you know, and it was weird. And the stoles when I came here, I followed Pastor Satterley.
Yeah.
And he like 6'4"?
Yeah.
I'm 5'5". So I put them on, and the tips of the stoles were on the ground. I mean, I looked like a kid dressing up in mom and dad's clothes, right? And so the worship team had to have all the stoles adjusted. So they really went halfway down my back. And do you still have those? You have the most beautiful Palm Sunday maroon paraments. They're gorgeous. Okay, you do get the award for most beautiful Palm Sunday in all the years. And so I usually presided, and I'd have to wear the chasuble. My hands didn't show, you know. I mean, Pastor Garner could wear it, and Pastor Satterley, but me, I was just too small for that thing, so I always felt, but it was so beautiful I would wear it, but I had to be really careful walking around. I didn't trip. Everything was too big, and this morning I said to one of the pastors, I said, oh, look, the pulpit is down. I said, what do you mean? Well, you know, that pulpit adjusts.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I had no idea.
You had no idea? Pastor Hoffman had no
We actually
idea?
have a stool back there
For Pastor Amy? See, it goes up and down. Goes up. And I don't know what you did with the little peg. Oh, here they are. The 2 wooden pegs. They're up here. And so you lift it up, and you stick these under here. There's little holes, like your cabinets, and you stick them in, and the pulpit will stay up or down. So Pastor Garner preached, it was up here. I preached, it was down here, as low as it could go, because I'm short. When it was up here, I couldn't see anybody. So I just felt like I wasn't fit for ministry, you know, everything was too big, it wasn't sized for the women. We've come so far, though. There were no women bishops when I came here, and I know you had Marie Yergi, right, at one point, and of course we have Bishop Eaton, right? I have Pat Davenport down in Southeast Penn, first African descent woman in the ELCA. So we just celebrated 50 years of women. So that was a big thing. I realize now that we were, and I preached over at your Catholic church, Assumption, was it? Oh yes, the annual week of Christian unity. We did a pulpit swap. You still do that? And Margaret Scott was across the street at the Methodist church, right? They're still over there.
She's retired.
She retired. Well, Margaret and I would meet together and work on sermons and stuff, and she said to me, you know, the year before I came, she said to the ecumenical group, she said, because some of the groups were saying, well, we don't welcome women, so they weren't going to welcome the women clergy to do the pulpit exchange, not come to their church. And so she said to the group, if I'm not welcome in every pulpit, this is not the week of Christian unity, and I'm not going to preach. Ooh. And so she preached in the Catholic church. So the next year, I got to go to Assumption and preach. And Pastor Garner warned me, don't be afraid that they're not going to let you sit up front. You have to sit in the front pew, and they're probably not going to serve you communion. You know, he's just looking out for me so I wouldn't be shocked. And I came back and said, oh no, I sat up on the altar the whole time. I got communion at every service, and people were walking out in tears. They'd never thought they'd see a woman preach, and never that a Lutheran would have communion, and I was naive, right? But we were the rusty wheels of history were moving back then. But to think of where we were, that it was just really scandalizing to have a woman. So thank you for calling a woman pastor. And I think it was a blessing because women saw themselves in leadership now in a different way. And there were other concerns that women had that maybe they wouldn't voice with a pastor. Domestic violence, things like that, that were more willing to talk to me about. Nothing wrong with the men, but I think they saw something. They saw themselves, just like little girls. Some little girl here said, "Mommy, can boys be pastors too?" Because they, in one church, they only knew me. So, I don't know.
Do any of you have questions for Pastor Bergdahl?
What I do for trouble? No. It's just good to sit, trying to think who all I remember here. Dawn's all grown up. My goodness, I had to, who done? Dawn, what?
You left here and went to Sturbridge.
Yes, Sturbridge, Massachusetts. Yes, it was a mission church, yes. And I was there for about 5.5 years. It was also called Bethlehem. So I thought, wow, I'm called to Bethlehem. What I really learned there was how to reach people who didn't grow up in church. Adults would come in and say, one guy asked me, "Do you ever use the Bible in this church?" And I was mortified, like, what would make him think we didn't use the Bible? Because we had these little inserts in the bulletin with the scriptures on it, and after that, every Sunday I would read the gospel from my Bible, just so people saw a Bible in my hands to read the gospel. I also did Bible 101 for adults. You don't know how many adults had never grown up, did not know how to find a Bible passage. And so I'd have 10 people copiously taking notes about, like the address. You have the name of the book, and then a chapter, and then a verse. And I'm teaching that to junior high kids now in confirmation. We gave them those Bible tabs. That was the best thing. Now they can all find a Bible passage, but adults, it was lost on them. So that really, from the time I left here and went there, that became a real passion. So I got really low church at that point because they didn't understand, this is a feast, something about a feast. They didn't know what the Lamb of God was. They didn't know anything. They weren't dumb. They just never learned. They didn't grow up in church. We're talking another language. So I really had a heart for people who didn't go to church. And from there, I went to Plattsburgh, New York. The air base had closed, and that was sort of a redevelopment. I was there for 7.5 years, and it was cold up there. The lake froze. It would never be above 0 in January. And I think I came to Philly for a class reunion at the seminary, and they had tulips in March. Can you imagine? We didn't see them till May. I said, I think I gotta move south again. So I ended up for the last 14 plus years in Sellersville. That church just did 150 in 2019. And so that church, I would say, was older than all 3 of the parishes I served combined. Because they were young. So congratulations on 100 years. So it's been a rich run. Right now I'm retired from the parish, but I teach Princeton Family Center. I work with clergy, helping them learn family systems, trying to help them do better in their relationships at home and work, because that's really a lot of this job, right? And so I teach that. I really enjoy that, trying to write and teach. And I work in a community garden, so I dig in the dirt, and just had baby goats last week, 4 baby goats. So that's kind of different for me. And I'm still adjusting. I'm traveling a bit. My family's in California, San Diego. So I go out there and see them. So this was why I had time to come up to Fairport.
Good. Well, we're glad you did.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Bergdahl.
You're welcome.
For coming up and visiting with us and preaching and sharing the word with us. Any other questions?
No questions, just thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
And I was digging through my pictures the other day, and I have must be high school graduation of Ryan, your son.
Ryan,
For
yes.
some reason, I have your son's picture
Wow.
that never got lost in 30
Well,
years.
I will share that with you.
Yeah. So I didn't bring it along. I should have. I could have blackmailed him.
He's 45 now.
Yeah. Oh, no way. No! He's still 15. Goodness. Well,
Okay.